you can go ahead and start. And my presentation today is about quarterbacks, the points that quarterbacks score in fantasy football. I personally love to play fantasy football. I do it every weekend. I've done it for a few years now. I just really enjoy it. And the way that fantasy football works, particularly with quarterbacks, is that for each set of yards that they throw, I think it's 25 yards, they get a point. Every touchdown that they throw, they get 6 points. If they throw an interception, they lose points. That kind of thing. What I wanted to figure out, my presentation was about just the quarterback's points. What I wanted to figure out was how many fantasy football points do quarterbacks score? On average, what is a quarterback score? The reason I wanted to do that because when you play fantasy football, most often the quarterback scores the most points on your team. Just the way it usually works out. So if I can figure out about what I should expect from my quarterback, I can make up for the points somewhere else. So how did I figure I would do this? So I went to NFL.com. There they have a list of all the stats you could ever want for all the players in the NFL. What I did was I looked at the Week 3 active quarterbacks. That means I took the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, and I looked at the total number of points that they scored in Week 3, which was not this weekend, but last weekend. Once I took those points, I just rounded them to the nearest whole number, and then I dealt with that from there. So what I thought was going to happen, I thought that the average NFL quarterback was going to score 18 points. I didn't have any information other than just me playing for the last couple of years to support it, but I thought that 18 points is about right. Then I looked, this is the actual, I just clipped it right from the page. This is the actual information that I used. Like you can see, Aaron Rodgers in Week 3, he scored about 35 points, which is phenomenal. He was the top quarterback. And I had a list of the top 32. You can see all of that information there. Notice that I put every single bit of information down in the presentation of all the quarterbacks. Unfortunately, my boy Teddy didn't do so hot, but they won, so I was okay.
I was going to say, where are they on the
They
list?
won. They won. I took all that information, all those numbers, all the points from the quarterbacks, and I put it into something called a line plot. Now, a line plot, if you can see on the bottom, it's just a number line from 1 to 35. And then I put each X where they scored. So this point represents Aaron Rodgers. He scored about 35 points. I put it right at about 35. Unfortunately, this point back here represents my boy Teddy. You can see that most of the quarterbacks right here, there was 5 of them that scored 19 points. So you can kind of see where most of them scored based off of this line plot. I also took that information, that line plot, and I put it into what's called a stem and leaf plot.
I hate those.
You might hate them now, but they're really, really helpful later on when you're trying to find the summary information. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. A stem and leaf plot, however, like let's say we had 1 and then 7. So like 1 and then 7. What that means is it's 17 points. This is a list of all of the quarterbacks written in order. So like 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, all the way to 20 points, 20 points, 20 points, 30 points, 31, 35. All of those points are written there. It's another way of listing your information. I took all that information and then I tried to summarize it by finding the maximum value, 35 points. The minimum value, 4 points. The mode, which is the number that happened the most often, was 19. You remember from that line plot, there was 5 points on 19. Then the mean, or the average, I took all of that information, I added it all up. So every one of the 32 quarterbacks, I added that information up, and then I divided it by 32, the number of quarterbacks. That gave me the average of 16. Then I also found the median, which was the middle number. I took the highest number, and then the lowest number, ticked it off. Then the second highest, and the second lowest, and the second highest, or the third highest, the third lowest. Keep taking them off until I got to the exact middle number, which ended up to also be 16. So that being said, my average was 16, my median was 16, so my hypothesis was wrong. My hypothesis, I said, was that I thought the average quarterback would score 18 points. However, because my mean and median were 16 points, I was 2 points too high. So that means NFL quarterbacks must score over 16 points to be in the top half of the league. They have to score over 16 points. So some of the things in this project that didn't quite go as well as I wanted, or I would do differently next time, would be that all my information was all from 1 week. It was all from 1 week. So that's not really that helpful because it changes from week to week. Quarterbacks change all the time. So next time I would definitely do it more than 1 week. In fact, I'd probably do it more than 1 year. I'd look over a span of a few years to see what they scored. And then I'd probably take it from more than one website. Not just use NFL.com, but also use maybe ESPN or Yahoo has one. I'd take it from a couple different sources. And then I think next time I'd like to compare it to somebody else. Like I'd do quarterbacks compared to running backs, or quarterbacks compared to tight ends, something like that. So those are the things that I would change. So in conclusion, quarterbacks had to score 16 points.